Now we will look at SD 50.38, the Katahara Sutta, the discourse on the wood gatherers, as 7.18. The theme here is the Buddha resorts to the forest, awakened and joyful. So here we see the forest as a theme that unites the unawakened with the awakened, that brings the world to the Buddha, and the world kind of becomes awakened. The world here refers to this Brahmin, who is kind of carpenter, I think. He repairs things, similar to the Brahmin who is a renovator. Okay, here is gathered. They live near the forest, and these Brahmins' pupils are gathering firewood, or just gathering wood. Let's look at the sutta, the discourse on the wood gatherers, as 7.18, page 164. At one time, the Blessed One was staying in a certain jungle thicket in Kosala. So we're not told exactly where this place is, except it is in the country of Kosala, because the event here is more important than the location. Well, now at that time, a number of Brahmin youth, residential students of a certain Brahmin of the Bharadwaja clan, gathering wood, approached the jungle thicket. So here we see a kind of intermediary group, a group of young people, young Brahmins. They were students of this elderly Brahmin, and they were in the forest looking for this forest product, this wood. When they approached, they saw the Blessed One in the jungle thicket, sitting cross-legged, keeping his body upright, with mindfulness established before him. Seeing the Blessed One, they approached the Brahmin of the Bharadwaja clan and said to him, "If it pleases you, Master, know that in the forest thicket over there, a recluse sits cross-legged, keeping his body upright and mindfulness established before him." So basically, someone meditating. So this Brahmin, of course, is very curious, very surprised that there is someone all alone in the forest. So, section 5. Then the Brahmin of the Bharadwaja clan, along with the Brahmin youths, approached the jungle thicket. They saw the Blessed One in the forest, sitting in meditation. Seeing him, he approached the Blessed One and addressed him in verse. Right? So here we see again this Brahmin kind of conversing with the Buddha in a very polite, in a special way. The Brahmin says, "You have plunged into the empty forest alone, deep in the woods with many terrors. Unmoving, steady, lovely, you meditate, O monk, in such beautiful form." So he's very happy to see this very peaceful figure in this wonderful, quiet place. And he's also very surprised, because this is his place of livelihood, and he is collecting wood from the forest. And it's not a safe place. He's not alone. He has his pupils with him. So this is the first verse, it says. Then he continues, "Where there is neither music nor singing, alone in the forest you abide a silent sage. This strikes me as something wonderful. Dwelling in the forest all alone, joyful at heart." So here you can see this Brahmin. He has some wonderful qualities himself, that he appreciates seeing this peaceful figure, radiant, beautiful figure sitting in meditation all alone in the dreadful jungle. Then he says, "Here you work the austerities for attaining Brahma." Okay, so now he's a Brahmin. So he uses his own understanding, his own training, if you like, or his own teachings. He's probably as a teacher too. So he says, "Oh, this is wonderful. This peacefulness, this meditation you're doing, will help you to realize the Brahman, or this kind of universal soul. This is, of course, a Brahmin idea, right? So let me read to you the third verse again. Kind of just miss some parts. Okay, so in the third verse about Brahma, the Brahmin says, "I think you desire communion with the Lord of the world in His supreme triple heaven." Right. So here you see the teachings of the Brahmins. The Brahmin looks at the Buddha and says, "Oh, you must be cultivating to attain this liberation, right? Something the Brahmins would call moksha, right?" So he's kind of looking at the Buddha in terms of his own religious understanding. "Hence, you are one who abides in the lonely forest. Here you work the austerities for attaining Brahma," right? So we see here a very interesting situation where apparently this Brahmin sees what the Buddha is doing as similar to what he is practicing. Now, of course, traditionally we don't see this kind of congruence. We don't see this overlapping of ideas and practices. The usual Brahmins are more ritualistic, chanting and praying and doing all these ceremonies. And they don't really meditate. But here, this is probably one of those what are called the Upanishads, the Brahmins, those who are contemplative, and he probably lives in the forest, and he's probably also learning and teaching this teachings of the Upanishads, which are kind of very close to some of the Buddhist teachings. So he thinks that the Buddha is one of those rishis, one of those practitioners. But here, as you notice, he addresses the Buddha as a monk. So he does, in a sense, know that the Buddha seems different. After all, the Buddha shaves his head and Brahmins don't. And Brahmins, they still keep a top knot on the top of their heads. So he's probably simply addressing the Buddha from his understanding, but without any knowledge of the Buddha's teaching. That is until the Buddha replies in the next verse. So now the Buddha replies and says, "Whatever desires or delights there are, they are all stuck thick in the numerous elements, losing longings born of the roots of unknowing. All have I done away with their roots too." Okay. So here there's a bit of forest language. Right? The Buddha is saying whatever desires we have that are the roots of ignorance, they all come from ignorance, rooted in ignorance. All that has been overcome. So for that reason the Buddha has no fear. "Free from desire, unstuck, unattached am I. One with purified vision into all things, having attained self-awakening, supreme, blessed, intrepid, Brahmin, I meditate in solitude." So here the Buddha basically is saying, I have let go of the world. I'm no more stuck with the world. And in that way, I'm purified in my actions, in my mind, and I see things differently, and I have no fear anymore because I do not have any more attachment to the world. And this is called self-awakening. So it's nothing to do with any Brahma or any external agency or God or soul, whatever. And he uses one special word, intrepid. Intrepid. In other words, he has spiritual courage, he has moral courage. He doesn't have fear anymore. And for that reason, he meditates alone, happy in the forest. So again, we must remember, besides the words, is how the Buddha speaks. The Buddha is able to reply to the Brahmin also in verse. He's able to show the Brahmin that he is also wise in terms of words. And the Brahmins are basically masters of the word, of sound. So, but the Buddha replies in that way to show the Brahmin that he also, the Buddha too, is at peace. So we have to also imagine the Buddha's voice, how he speaks to the Brahmin to show his peacefulness and so on. And this Brahmin is able to see the wonders of all these aspects of the Buddha. And so he goes for refuge. He's very happy. So again here you see there is this very quick. So of course, for those of us who've been following the suttas, we know a person like this, a Brahmin like this, has in the past life been practicing. He was probably with some past Buddhas, and then in this life it's just a matter of listening to the Dhamma again, and he's ready. When this was said, the Brahmin of the Bharadwaja clan said to the Blessed One, "Wonderful Master Gautama, wonderful Master Gautama," just as if one were to place upright what had been overturned, or were to reveal what was hidden, or were to show the way to one who was lost, or were to hold up a lamp in the dark so that those with eyes could see forms. In the same way, Master Gautama has in numerous ways made the Dhamma clear. I go to Master Gautama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the community of monks too. May Master Gautama remember me as a layman who has gone for refuge from this day forth for life. So let us now close with a short reflection. Whatever wholesome actions we do now, especially with grounding in our understanding of the suttas, our reflection on impermanence and the true nature of all things in impermanence, this helps us to see, to look within ourselves, to see peace, to be able to let go of the world, at least temporarily for the moment. And that frees us from fear when we hold on to nothing with greed, with lust, or with hatred. We are free from fear, and that brings joy to us. So we see many of these ancient saints, these great disciples of the Buddha, enjoying this wonderful inner peace. And once they hear the Buddha speak, they at once are able to relate and attain awakening, just like that. May we too, by the power of our own good actions, be wise and understand the Dhamma when we listen to it, so that we are blessed with courage and wisdom to aspire to stream winning in this life itself. And by the power of the three jewels too, may we be well and happy, our minds calm and clear, to understand the Dhamma when we hear it in this life itself, and aspire to stream winning, at least. May our family and loved ones too be well and happy. May they too see the Dhamma in this life itself. May those who are practicing the Dhamma in the right way, may they too see the fruit of their practice and awaken in this life itself. May those who are lost, may those who are teaching the wrong Dhamma, may they too see the true teaching of the Buddha and attain awakening in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.